So students, so far we have discussed about properties of light. As I have told you, we are going to discuss about reflection and refraction of light. In the upcoming few lectures, we will discuss about the reflection of light. Then we will discuss about refraction of light. So now let's move towards the first topic, that is the reflection. Student, what do we mean by actually the reflection of light? Reflection is defined as the bouncing back of light rays into the same medium when these rays strikes on a surface or on a boundary separating two media. Student, when light rays falls on a boundary or on a surface and bounces back into the same medium, this is termed as a reflection of light. Now student, the light from sun or any other source can be absorbed or can be transmitted or can be reflected. This depends on the property or the nature of the medium or the nature of the substance on which the light is falling. So we can say that light can be absorbed or it will be transmitted or it will be reflected. This depends on the nature of the medium or the substance on which the light is falling. For example, if we talk about blackboard, it appears black because it absorbs all the light that is falling on its surface. On the other hand, if we talk about a glass sheet, student, it transmits all the light that is falling on it, and hence it is called transparent medium, and that's why it is transparent. Now student, again if we talk about a mirror, it reflects almost all the light that is falling on its surface, so that's why it is a reflecting surface. And if an object does not allow the light to pass through it, it is called opaque. So student, this is the nature of different materials or the mediums due to which light can be absorbed, it can be transmitted or it can be reflected. Here, as we are talking about the reflection of light, so here we are going to deal about the polished surfaces that will reflect most of the light that is falling on its surface. Or what is reflection? The light when falls on the reflecting surface, it will be bounces back into the same medium. Now student, there are few important terms that you need to remember before discussion of the reflection. Student, let's have a look at these terms. The first term that you should know is the incident ray. Now student, what do we mean by the incident ray? Students, see here, I have taken a reflecting surface here. This is a polished surface. The upper surface you can see is the reflecting, and this shaded region is showing us the polished side of this reflecting surface. Now let us suppose I have taken a ray. This is a light ray that actually incident on this surface. So student, here you can see that this light ray is falling on this surface, and hence this is called the incident ray. What is it called? It is called the incident ray. So let's write, what is incident ray? Incident ray, the light ray that falls on the reflecting surface. That falls on the reflecting surface. Is the incident ray. Now the second term is the point of incidence. So what's the second term we need to discuss is the point of incidence. Now let's again go to this figure. This is the light ray that falls. Now student, where it actually falls? It falls on this reflecting surface here at this point. So if I name this ray as AO, then student, this O is the point where this light ray actually falls. So this point is the point of incidence. So what is the point of incidence? The point on the reflecting surface where the incident ray falls. The point on the reflecting surface where the incident ray falls is the point of incidence. Now next term that we need to discuss is the reflected ray. So here is the next ray we are going to discuss, that's the reflected ray. Now let's go there on the figure. Student, here the reflected ray is going to be the ray that will be bounces back into the same medium. So let us suppose this is the ray that bounces back into the same medium. So we will call this ray as the reflected ray. So this is a ray that bounces back. I am going to name this ray OB. So student, OA is the incident ray, O is the point of incidence, and this ray is the reflected ray. So what is reflected ray? The ray that bounces back into the same medium. Into the same medium. After the reflection is called the reflected ray. Now here comes the next ray and we call this ray as normal. Student, what is normal? Let's have a look. Student, normal is a perpendicular that is drawn on this reflecting surface. Now we can draw anywhere a perpendicular on this reflecting surface, and that will not be called normal because it's the perpendicular drawn at the point of incidence. So here I am going to draw a perpendicular on the point of incidence. So student, this is the normal ON, and I am going to write it here that it's our normal. This is normal. So what is normal? It is a perpendicular drawn at the reflecting surface or on the reflecting surface at the point of incidence. So normal is the perpendicular to the reflecting surface at the point of incidence. Now here comes the next term, that is angle of incidence. Obviously student, as it says the angle of incidence, so it has to do something with the incident ray. So now let's discuss about the angle of incidence. Student, you can see here this angle, that is the angle made by the incident ray with the normal at the point of incidence will be called the angle of incidence, and this angle that is made by the reflected ray with the normal will be called the angle of reflection. So here student, this angle is the angle of incidence and this angle is the angle of reflection. So we can write, what is angle of incidence? The angle made by the incident ray with the normal at the point of incidence is called angle of incidence, which is denoted by I. And what is the angle of reflection? We have seen it also. This is the angle made by the reflected ray with the normal at the point of incidence, and it is denoted with R. So student, I hope these terms are clear to you. We have discussed about the incident ray, that's the ray that falls on the reflecting surface. The point where it is going to fall is called the point of incidence. The ray that gets bounces back into the same medium is called the reflected ray. The perpendicular drawn on this reflecting surface at the point of incidence will be called normal. The angle made by the incident ray with the normal at the point of incidence is called the angle of incidence. The angle made by the reflected ray with the normal at the point of incidence is called the angle of reflection. I hope student these terms are clear to you, but there are few more terms. Now let's discuss about those terms as well.